we are live. Instead of Saturday Night Live, it's Tuesday Night Live. Well, let's start from the beginning. In the year 1962, when JFK was inaugurated, the United States government worked on a secret project to create a top-secret test tube baby genius in artificial insemination. And January 23rd, 1963, that alien baby was created. Me. Well, I lived my whole life, first 13 years in upstate New York, and then I moved to Manhattan, New York, lived there for 5 years, went to Brooklyn Technical High School, so please give yourself the benefit of the doubt that I have a decent education. I went to Brooklyn Technical High School from 1977 to 1981. Then I moved to Florida in 1981 when I graduated Brooklyn Tech. And my adopted father died 3 years after he retired from New York City as the food inspector of Bellevue Hospital. And when he died, I had a slight nervous breakdown. So I was analyzed at the crisis center, and they transferred me to a hospital where I was shot up with drugs. Inhumanely, went back to the crisis center, and the psychiatrist was like, "Oh, he's very intelligent, let him go." And I went back 6 months later, and was diagnosed by personality disorder, personality conflict with a female psychiatrist named Balsam Fanouche. Oh, he is a danger to himself and others. He needs to go to a state hospital. I said, close the case, I'm a genius. The male psychiatrist there, I forget his name. Anyway, Dr. Armando Sands says, oh, he's very intelligent, just immature. So, I ended up getting a disability because technically I'm crazy. So, I went to an old job that I had and said, I want to be the vice president of your company. We'll send them your resume. I work for the largest shop-at-home food service on the planet called Thrift Pack Foods, and the president of that company gave me a good reference and said, "Oh yeah, he's a great guy. He needs to be, he's a genius, and he would do wonders for your company." So they said, "Okay, we got a contract for you in Denver." Denver, that's the city where Columbine took effect. So I went there and I spoke to the vice president of the company in Miami and said, I want to be the vice president of the company. He says, you still want to be the vice president of the company? And I'm like, well, if you just want to make me a manager, that's fine. Well, we have a contract for you. So I slept a couple of miles away in a hotel there to go there the day after Martin Luther King's birthday, and I think it was about 85. And got into a cab, and the cab driver steps on the gas, and then he steps on the brake, and it was like $5 after 3 blocks. And I'm like, stop this cab now. And he opened up the door, and I started screaming out, you mother. Okay, and he said, you don't know who I am, F you. And then I went to the office the next day, and they said, well, there's no contract here for you. There was one yesterday, but because you missed it, they tore it up. Well, I ended up getting kidnapped, and I wrote a letter to to the judge and I said, Your Honor, I am not a paranoid schizophrenic. According to the doctor in Tampa, I'm a genius. And the other one had a personality conflict. Thinks I'm a paranoid schizophrenic with illusions of grandeur. And I said, I'm going to sue this hospital if you don't get me out. And I told her my educational level, where I went to Hillsborough Community College and had 53 credits. And I said, I demand that you have 3 U.S. Air Force jets fly over this hospital to indicate to me you've received my letter. Well, unknowing to me, the judge that I wrote a letter to was from New York, and luckily for me, she knew who I was and got on the phone and called the FBI and said, you know, one of your people is trapped in a hospital, being held against his will, being threatened to have a catheter put up on, and they're going to give me a lobotomy. And I'm like, dude, you feeling okay? And the doctor said, well, we were told for you to stand on this X right here. They drew a little X on the concrete. And I'm like, I think I know what's going to happen next. Well, 5 o'clock. I can't remember what day it was, and sure enough, the ground started rumbling. I'm like, what the fuck? Okay, and then 3 U.S. Air Force jets flew over the hospital to indicate to me that, yeah, she did, I guess she got my letter. And it was like being at a football game and having the jets fly over after you sing the national anthem. So I got back to Tampa a couple months later and continued with my life, and I rented rooms. So I stayed on the streets for a year, living in churches, and then I saved up enough money and I started renting rooms from a couple of people, and then after that I saved up money and bought my own home and slowly picked the pieces up. Well, in 1983, when the United States Embassy was bombed in Lebanon because of a New World superpower, I realized who I was and why it was bombed. So I said, I'd like to talk to Ronald Reagan, 2 o'clock in the morning. Well, they subliminally hypnotized me to trace the call. No way to prove it, but I'd lay down and the phone hung up an hour and a half later. And I woke up at 6 o'clock, 4 hours later, and said, what's going on? I want to talk to Ronald Reagan. This is Superman. Patched me through to some senator from some state. I can't remember where it was, maybe Iowa. And he said, hey, this is Senator such and such from Iowa. He says, talked to him for 82 minutes. And he said, I have your file right in front of me. We know who you are. And you have any idea how to get it right you're in? I said, no, keep using the hand that we gave you. Okay, buddy. Well, let me tell you the other secrets that this government's got going on. You take a look at and analyze all the plane crashes where 2, 3, 4, 500 people died at once. And you take a look at all the weather patterns that the government keeps tabs of and they control through planes flying and emitting gases, and all the weather all the weather charts of hurricanes, tornadoes. Look what's happening in America now, even in the past 5, 10, 15 years. All the tornadoes, the fires in California, the government allowing homosexuals and lesbians to marry. We're in the end of times, but you can't prove it. It's just a feeling you have. Analyze all the volcanoes that are happening and all the earthquakes. How many people have died, not only in America, but throughout the world. And that's why you see on the net all these preachers and different people keeping statistics of the emissions of the sun, coming out of what's happening with this world. This world is about to explode. They have enough technology with the nuclear bombs that they can blow up any city or many cities, any countries that they want. And that's about what's eventually going to happen. The terrorist groups out there have their hands on half a dozen of them. If you can even log it, look under 6 stolen U.S. missiles. They were being transferred from Texas to South Carolina. Whoops! The caravan got lost. Where did the missiles go? Where did the people go that were driving the trucks? Well, they're all being held, or who knows what's happening with them. Well, somebody's going to trigger off a few of these bombs, whether or not they're in hands and they're already out in the Middle East. Look at the problems that are going on in the Middle East right now. Yep, something's going to happen. The American economy is going to collapse. How do you figure? Well, Obama administration has plans for different scenarios of what can happen in America and throughout the world to trigger the eventual returning of Christ. Is it all timed? Well, maybe. There's nothing you can do about it, nothing I can do about it. But whoever's got control of these bombs, whether in other countries, look how insane North Korea is. They have 10 missiles. Look up online which countries have missiles. North Korea has 10, Israel has 100, America has 10,000, Russia has 11,000, Turkey has 50. Wherever these are at, these are people that have the power to set them all off when they want. I was sent here to warn everybody what's going to happen. You have to be right in the Lord Jesus Christ to allow Him to get you to the next level. Because when you die, if you're not right with Christ, you end up being evaluated. And you're either going to go down or up. But we're all going to go at the same time. If this world tilts its axis, if a meteor hits us, if Yellowstone blows, there's so many scenarios on the net of the propaganda that will happen that nobody really knows except the people in power. Think about it. If the world does end, what could trigger? Earthquake? The earth could crack in half. There could be bombs set in the middle of all over the different countries to just go off. When North Korea set off their atomic bomb in their own country to do a test to see if they had the bomb or not, what happened to all the earth underneath? It caused an earthquake. Well, if the earth is about ready to crack, well, we're all going to die at the same time through natural causes, be floating around in space. If it's through nuclear, well, if they only set off a few bombs, there's going to be people alive still dying from nuclear radiation. Their kids and so forth will become deformed. And how many bombs, if all 25,000 nuclear warheads go off, or 20,000 nuclear warheads go off, it'll kill the world 10 times over. So you can hide underground. I'm sure they have cities underground. I've seen it on InfoWars where they've got apartments you can buy underground for $1 million. And all the rich people, the elite, are already heading to these places because they are afraid it could happen any day. Well, when it happens, there's going to be rioting. Oh, wait a minute, there's already rioting in St. Louis, Maryland. They'll be rioting all over due to the creation of the Antichrist, which isn't a bad thing. It's just something that they've labeled as, oh my goodness. So what's going to happen is I was sent here to warn everybody what's going to happen and to let the people know to get underground, find out where these buildings are to get underground, have enough food supply in the event that your city doesn't get nuked and the fallout doesn't hit your area. You'll at least be able to survive a few years. Buy a lot of water, buy a lot of food, and at least you'll be able to survive. What will happen? Well, there'll be rioting. mass rioting. Oh my God, the United States has the technology to create a genius, Jerry Cantor, and this whole world's going to go poof, and he's going to lead us to the promised land. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I am the Messiah. I'm looking you straight in the face, and I'm telling you to prepare yourself, because I feel it in my bones. The apocalypse. Boy, that sounds familiar, doesn't it? Again, draw a chart on all the plane crashes that have happened. Oh, all the gun shootings that are happening in America and that have happened. The buildings that have been blown up, besides 9/11, besides the Alfred P. Murrow building, and the Waco shooting with the mass, the people there, and then also the motorcycle people, and then that one guy that's in Seattle trying to, having some ranch, and then all the shootings like the Washington D.C. sniper, and Columbine, and all the shootings that are going on in Illinois, and Miami, and New Orleans, and all over because of gun control. The government is eventually going to come in and tell everybody to turn their guns in. And if you don't turn them in, they're going to come knocking door to door like they did in Boston with the Boston Marathon and take everybody's guns away. Well, that's when the Civil War starts. The Civil War, people don't want to give up their guns, and that's why the forefathers made that in the Constitution. You have the right to bear arms. Well, you can either shave your arms, or you can buy guns and go down fighting. And that's what that guy was in Oregon all about, because he was trying to educate the public, but didn't know how to go about it before he did it. So he ended up getting shot. Martin Luther King got shot. Why? Because he had a dream, and somebody insane enough shot him, just like John Lennon got shot. He sang the song Imagine, and what happened there? He got shot. So when the rioting starts, because food stamp cards don't work because the government's so broke, they're not going to tell you. So one day is going to, it happened already once. They did a test to see what would happen, and people were just running out of stores with their food. They were yelling and arguing, and oh no, everything will be okay, give us a couple of days, it's a glitch. What's going to happen in America when everybody's food stamp card doesn't work? Oh, their Social Security checks don't work, or aren't being cashed, or there's no deposits being put in their house. Oh, don't worry, stay in your homes. There's a minor problem with the government. Oh, you lost your jobs. Everybody's being fired, or the businesses are shutting down. Look around you in America and take a look at all the businesses that are for sale. Never mind the homes that are for sale, because people can't afford them. The banks are stuck with these properties, and they're just trying to give them away to get at least something back with the interest over 30 years. Please. There's not enough time left in 30 years to pay for a house to work. When the people realize that all the years that they've been working at their jobs, saving for these IRAs and putting money into homes that when they lose their jobs, I know what's going to happen. Alex Jones has an idea of what's going to happen, and so does Glenn Beck, and so does Rush Limbaugh, because they have the millions. So if it happens, it doesn't affect them. It'll affect them, but not that bad, because they'll have money. When you go to your bank and try to even get $100 out, and you can't, then there'll be more rioting. Well, look what's happening in Syria. Their governments are locking people up in stockades like they did in World War II. You don't think it can happen in America? You better guess again. That's why they got something called FEMA camps. Head to your nearest FEMA camp, please. Step in line, step inside. We're going to decapitate every one of you people. You Christians first, and then everybody else next. One at a time. Listen, you can either starve to death, or you can go peacefully and pray to God that you'll be forgiven, and they're going to just chop everybody's heads off and put you into coffins. And then what? The less people that are alive, less people they can feed. They've already got a whole bunch of food stored up. and only the rich people, the police, the militia, the Army, the Navy, the Marines, they'll be fed. But the rest of you folks, you're going to FEMA camp, get your heads cut off, and or you'll just live and drink water and eventually die. Look at all the water supplies that are being tainted in America right now. In Michigan, can't drink that water. In Texas, can't drink that water. It's black. Oh, there's a boil water notice in this county, that state, this region. So if you don't have your water stocked up, you better go get some. And if you think this is a joke, when it happens, you can't say, "Oh, I didn't know," because I'm trying to tell you what's going to happen. But let me tell you some other things. How these government lotteries and state lotteries, they're all fixed. I've been getting signals for years, almost about a decade, in trying to make, me talking to myself, buy, the lottery's fixed, it's fixed for you today only. I even made up my own lottery one time with my birthday, 1, 2, 3, 7, 16, look it up online, for the Fantasy 5, and it came out 3 days later, after I did it, and I was like, unbelievable. And it paid like $200,000. There's 3 winners, so wow, I would have won a whole $70,000. And after taxes, it would have been $35,000. So really, what could I have done with $35,000? Well, the state lotteries are fixed. If you have connections, you can get into it. You gotta have a certain feeling. It's called extrasensory perception. Well, I've had extrasensory perception on the last 5 or 6 lottos and Powerball, and talking to myself, come on, go buy a ticket, and I'm like, the lottery's fixed. I don't need the money to get to heaven. I don't want to be happy here, I want to be happy in heaven. So the government's totally pissed at me for not playing these numbers. Maybe they go, maybe he'll shut up if he plays them and wins. He can't lose because he has the feeling. Maybe he'll play if he get 5 out of 6 and get $1 million, or 4 out of 6 and the Powerball number and get 50,000. And I could have played any one of those, but I choose not to because it's dirty money. And when I played it a couple of times, it didn't win because they were just trying to get me to take my money. It's an evil from the Bible. So you can look at all the different people on the net, Pastor Bagley, a couple other people, and you'll see that something's going to happen. And I know what's going to happen. And there's going to be such rioting. Oh, we never knew. How could this be? Wow, we would have. And when there are certain federal indictments that go out, and like they can charge you with things you ever even think that they would happen, and they only set up certain people. Like if you look at certain people that have gone down and they were just charged with so many different things that they will never see the light of day again, and they just keep tracking and watch you keep making mistakes so they can finally go in and say that's enough. Well, something happens to certain people, the media gets involved, and that's when the rioting will start again, and protesting and all kinds of weird things. Companies will be starting to shut down, and people have nowhere to make money. Their IRAs won't be anything because the stock market's going to take a dive you won't believe. And when everybody's finally saying, well, what do we do? And the government's saying, go to your nearest FEMA camp. Well, then you know what's going to happen. So the forest's on fire because this country is about to blow. There's so much stuff that's going to happen in this country. And people are the elite, the people that have money, are leaving this country because they don't want to be around when the whole thing blows. They're talking about Yellowstone blowing. They're talking about these foreign countries coming in and setting off bombs. The United States, from what I've read on the net and seen on the net, is selling their debt to China. and to Japan, and they're saying, well, we got some vacant land in Kansas for you, and Tennessee, and all these areas where they go, we'll give you that this amount of many miles of this and that, and they'll wipe out our debt. Oh, okay. So they're just taking something instead of nothing, because when the economy, you're in debt for $17 trillion, you're going in the wrong direction. The country, before Obama took office, I think that the national debt was around, let me see, around 12 trillion. And now it's gone up 5 or 6 in the 8 years that it's been. It's gone up 50% or 35% in 8 years. You're going the wrong way. You're not balancing. You're talking about us, telling us how to manage our money, when you yourself are just spending whatever you want for toilet seats and underground work and this and that, and you just, oh, well, let's bring in the Mexicans. Bring the Mexicans in. They have criminal records, so what? They won't do that here. When they get their hands on the guns and they start shooting people, then you'll be like, oh, I guess, well, we knew it was going to happen. And all these other people from other countries, let them in, let them come to America. We'll give you food stamps. We'll set you up, and they got people that are coming here from Mexico and Syria and all over the world. These Muslims, oh yeah, they're gonna behave here. No, well, half of them have been brainwashed, and they're waiting for the word to come in, like the one guy in California. And sure enough, do you think that's going to happen just in one isolated incident? It's going to happen all over America. There's going to be a national epidemic. There's going to be a civil war in this country. Every race, every religion, every color, they're just going to start shooting people, because when the secret gets out that this world is going to end soon, whether or not it's some sort of a asteroid that's going to hit us and knock us off our axis, or if it's going to be a solar flare hitting the planet, or whatever scenario it is, the people are going to go insane, and they're going to start rioting like they're doing in these other states already. There was 3 continents fighting back on 2/22, I think it was 2013 or 14 and 15 rather, where they were rioting. And they weren't showing the real reasons why they were rioting, but they know the secret. I was on Twitter telling people I'm the Messiah, and that's when the rioting was happening. Well, went back to Twitter to look at my tweets, and they're gone. Where'd they go? Well, they edited them. I even spoke to this one person on, I think it was CNN, a lady from Saudi Arabia, I can't remember her name. But anyway, I talked to her, and they know. And it's just a matter of time. I don't even think I know for a fact it's not decades. You're looking at years, possibly months. And when the economy makes a nosedive, when a top political, religious, or maybe not so top, but popular political person gets taken in, and all kinds of, to try to shut him up because he knows too much, that's when the rioting starts. When the rioting starts, the food stamps go bazonka. So they're trying to starve you out of your homes. They're going to tell you everybody to check into the FEMA camps, chop off everybody's heads. That's what I see happening. So if you don't go to your FEMA camp and get killed, you'll end up dying from starvation, or there'll be trains going and planes and buses going to the nearest FEMA camps where they have all these black boxes. They just put 3 or 4 people in at a time, depending on how big they are. And you got to educate and spread the word around that throughout this country, because something big is about to happen. And when it does, a lot of people are going to just be protesting, rioting. There'll be blockades, and it could last until the end of the world. sometimes what's going to happen is people are going to be committing crimes like killing people. You want to go to a federal prison, all you got to do is just open up your neighbor's nearest mailbox and put it on Facebook and go, hey, I'm stealing, look at all my 10 neighbors' mails, and then edit, and then go on Facebook, and you can get a nice room for the rest of your life in a federal prison. And then there'll be people shooting people, so they'll be charged. There'll be all kinds of people looking to go there instead of getting their heads chopped off. So they'll do anything to do it, like kill, rape, steal, all kinds of crazy crimes. And when they go in to charge people like that, they go, oh, well, you did this, that, this, and add so many charges, you'll never get out to see the day of light. So those are your options. Go to FEMA camp, commit a crime, go to prison, if there's enough time even to go through a scenario of being charged and found guilty of your peers. And but what's going to happen is it's so sad that if you people are watching this and don't do something before it happens, you have nobody but to blame but yourselves, because if you don't stock up on food, you're going to starve to death. If you stock up on food, okay, if let's say it's a big an asteroid comes and wipes out the west coast or the east coast, you have a chance to survive if you've got a boat, if you've got food. The safest place to be in this world right now is in a submarine, but they're hard to find. So if you got plenty of money, get one of those and go underwater. It's about the safest place to be. If you have any questions, you can get in touch with me, like the one guy did from California, trying to get through to me. But this is really coming to a boil. Not much time left. All these kind of years that you've been working for IRAs, and you're going to see your values go down. You're going to go down, okay, 10%, and then what happens when the Dow Jones drops 1,000 points? When are you going to pull out and say, hey, give me half my money now? Take half your money out if you can get it, so you can at least live comfortably for the next, few months or years, depending on how valuable your IRAs are. They're not going to be worth anything if the stock market closes. They're not going to be worth much if the stock market takes a dive, goes down 50% in one day or 10% for 5 days in a row. But you got to do something. All these homes that you bought and you can't afford, the government's going to say, hey, it's going to take... I had a friend that had a home for 4 years. He didn't make a mortgage payment on it for the last 4 years that he was there, 6 years, and it took him 4 years to evict him. And he probably could have fought that too. So, to try to remodify a mortgage. What are these car dealers doing now? Come on in. We'll sell you a car and I'll give you $1,000 to come on out, and I'll give you a free vacation. And what are you going to do to make your next payment once it's due in 45 days or 90 days? If you lose your job, if your company that you're working for closes up because they can't afford, because the economy is going crazy, nobody's got jobs. And you do telemarketing. Oh, I work for this company, that company, and you can't call anywhere. What are you going to do when you lose your job and you can't afford to? They're going to say, stay in your homes, we'll work with your landlords, we're going to do a remodification for your mortgages and for your cars, and they're going to throw so many different smoke screens that you're not going to know who to believe. You go to different churches and they're going to say Jesus is coming, and another one's going to say he is the Messiah, he isn't the Messiah. Many people are going to claim to be the Messiah. The Bible says that. But look at my initials. Look at what I did in 1984. Why am I getting all of these different feelings about the lotteries, about horse races, where I can see the numbers coming out? It's crazy. And you think what's going on for me for the last 10 years is crazy. Wait till you see what happens to this country. You won't recognize it. You'll be like, that was where this team played, da 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 da. People won't. Look what they did in Boston. when they had the martial law. Couldn't even go to a hockey game. You couldn't go to a basketball game. You can't go to baseball games. You can't go anywhere. The cities are all going to be stuck with these tanks going up and down every road, and no one's going to be able to go out to work. Nobody's going to be able to pay their bills. They can't shut the electric off because then they'll be just totally whacked. So you start saving up your money so you can at least survive the next few months. And get some food and stock up. So in case, say nothing happens. I'm a lunatic. Nothing happens. What do you got? You're stuck with what? $1,000, $2,000 worth of food? Just eat it up in the next year. Feed your families. Take cover. Protect everything. Protect the things you have. Because people are going to be knocking on your doors. Could I get some food? Can I just stay? It's freezing out. I just wanted to stay. You get a blanket, and then people will be, look, I'll give you $1,000 for a blanket, or $100 for a cup of water. People are just, the stores just look around you in every city, even here in my city, they closed the biggest neighborhood grocery store. Okay. All the other businesses, due to the administration that's currently in charge, they've combined all their best stores and gotten rid of the other ones. And they're stuck with all these businesses that are for sale, that are vacant. It's never happened in America. Look around you and the different complexes of the businesses. They don't have 100% vacancies. Even in malls, there's different businesses that are shut down, or the signs are gone. You don't even know what was there. It's going to happen in every city in America. And you have to protect yourself and your family. Get this video out, because I'm telling you what I've done and accomplished in my life. So there's nothing more I can do to help you but to educate you. I have 2 years at Hillsborough Community College. I even went to USF for a couple of semesters, and I know what I'm talking about. My home is paid for. So you might not be able to stay in your home long enough. So if you got equity in your home, try to get a loan. All the banks are scared. I don't care who you work for, how much you make, what your credit rating is. It's very hard to get a loan. You could go, I need a new roof. I need some appliances. I need a new air conditioner. I need my house painted. It doesn't matter. I need this, that. I want to refinance it. The banks are so scared to loan money. They only loan money to people who have money that don't need the money. They check your credit rating. They know exactly why you're coming in. Oh, you need money. We can't help you. You have money, we'll loan you money, because we can make money on you and you're not a credit risk. So be careful and do what you can. If you have credit and ability to get money, get it out of the bank. Take your money. Okay, if you want to pay your mortgage, if you have $50,000 in equity in your house, whether or not it's worth $100,000 or $200,000, just get the equity out and then watch and see. Refinance the house and say, hey, look, I'll pay you X number of years in advance. Do something smart with the equity you have so you can get out of debt. Once you're out of debt, then you'll see things differently. Wow, I've got everything paid for. You don't have to work as hard to have nothing left over to pay interest and have nothing left over everybody, about 80% of America is living paycheck to paycheck. Only 20% of people have enough money to pay their bills a year or 6 months or even a month in advance. 80% of the people have nothing left over after they pay their bills, maybe $100 a week. Well, you can't save anything but maybe $4,000 or $5,000 a year before another bill comes in. You end up with nothing anyway. So you've got to be smart. If you've got equity in your home, get it out. And if you're upside down in your car, it's because these places, they'll give you a card, they'll put you into debt, and then they don't care. If you miss a payment for 2 months, boom, they're going to come in and get it. And they don't care if they ruin your credit. They just want to get you into debt, so your credit does get affected. So Don't buy those lottery tickets unless you know certain numbers are going to come out. Because it don't matter what you play. If you play, what do they call, quick pick? Because think about it. If the lottery's fixed and you go up there and say, let me get the winning the winning number, they're going to give you everything but any one of those numbers. They might give you one number out of the 6. And if they gave you 2, you won't have to